Greetings and salutations, and welcome to episode 187 of Ref the District. I'm Nathan Perry. That's the stoner with Don't Sleep energy shots, and Trev down there in the corner as well. We are 2 weeks away from real football. We got one preseason game, which we're not actually really going to talk about. We'll dabble a little bit in it in the cool down, but no one's really playing that we care about. Okay, so let's be realistic here. Jayden Daniels is sitting. It's not going to be a real game. So we're instead in the cool down going to be talking about our 53-man predictions, and maybe not going spot by spot, but generalities, because we do have our usual 53-man project that'll be airing out on Monday. That's going to be with content creators across the Commanders verse. So we always look forward to that every year. But that's going to be happening in the cool down here today. QB1, probably the most expected announcement to come from this team this year, was Jayden Daniels is going to be the starting day quarterback for this team. We're going to be talking about that and how he can be different than the previous 30 plus guys that came between him and the last time the team won the Super Bowl. And then we'll be talking about last week's game against the Miami Dolphins, the dress rehearsal, the last time we're going to see Jayden Daniels here in the preseason, the last time we're going to see some starters. We haven't even seen all of the starters. We're going to talk about the things that we saw during that Miami game here in the dress rehearsal. Of course, we're streaming live, as we always do, here on YouTube and Facebook. And at 7:30 Eastern, we appreciate everybody who jumps in and joins the conversation. Nathan, HT in the house, Doug, Gus Bus here, Al Catone, Brian, Rockman, John Lombard, Uptown Dre, JG here, all Grimjaw as well, Jersey Slim. Appreciate everybody jumping into the chat. We're going to have plenty more. If you're jumping in, you got to make sure you hit that like button and subscribe and share this with other people so that way they can join the conversation. We're going to be bringing you great content throughout the season. I was just telling the boys that EP has given me the green light to really hammer down on some Ref the District comments content. And so we're going to have some new things coming out because it will be my focus, as well as updating all this graphics and doing all this stuff. And all your support helps push me forward and allows me to continue doing these kind of things for everybody. So we appreciate everybody who does jump in. Of course, you can also get this on your favorite audio platform afterwards. So we do appreciate if you are listening there as well. I think that's all the housekeeping here for now. As far as the warm-up is concerned, of course, we'll have a Bet Online ad read later whenever I can kind of squeeze in a nice segue for that. But let's talk about these Miami Dolphins against our Washington Commanders. We're going to do joint here, okay, because they did have a joint practice, and then they had the game, all right, all between our last show and this show. So, Trev, how did you feel the difference was between the joint practice and the information we were getting to how the game kind of played out? Because in my opinion, I don't really feel like they were similar. I felt like it was kind of yin yang a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like we were more fundamentally sound during the practice than we were during the game. Offensive wise in the game, I don't think missed a beat. We looked very pedestrian. They just did things that they were asked to do. Defense, 2 of 5 for 5 in a passing touchdown. Our secondary is pretty bad right now. You kind of hear that in the practices and camps, but you really saw it on display during the preseason game against the Dolphins. And of course, it was on Benjamin St. Just. Got scored on by a guy named River Craycraft, who's been bounced around the league a few times. Now is hurt after that game. He's not even participating in practices now anymore. So it's embarrassing. St. Just has been here for a while. I think he was probably considered before this season our best man-to-man corner that we had due to his size and his ability to, get his hand on the ball. But
not named Kendall Fuller, of course, Trev.
Yeah, not named Kendall. Well, whatever. He gone too. So who's in Miami, by the way.
Intercepted Jayden Daniels to end the joint practice,
which is cool. But it's just our secondary's got some work to do. I don't know what we got to do to make it happen, but it's just, I'm not saying I could do it better than him because he's the professional athlete, so no slouch to that. But I know the game a little bit. I watched the game, and I've watched other cornerbacks play defense, and they turn their head around to find the ball. I don't understand why cornerbacks just look at the receiver to watch to see when they go for the catch, and then they swipe to see if they can time it right. Your timing is never accurate when that happens. It's lucky sometimes, yes, but for the most part, it's never going to work. You got to at least turn around and see where the ball is. Maybe you can intercept it. I mean, that's why we got Joe Witt here. He got people named Deron Bland, who's as bland as his last name, leading the league in interceptions last year, or close to it, with 6. And you bring him here, it's like, okay, he's probably teaching us that, but the players just won't do it. So practice was probably way better than the game on defensive-wise. Offense is probably the same. Jayden Daniels is awesome.
Can I give you a contrarian view a little bit, Trev?
Of course you can. That's what we're here
for that game in terms of the secondary. Now, look, the secondary didn't do its job very well.
No.
However,
okay,
Washington did not play most of their starting defensive line. That makes a difference. We all know
it
this.
Does.
When the defensive line gets pressure on a quarterback, he doesn't have the ability to stand back there and make those easy throws.
You're right.
So if you had Payne and Allen and even guys who may not be superstars, but if Johnny Newton, if Dante Fowler, if Cleveland Farrell, and I don't know how good those couple of guys are, those last 2 guys, but if they can just put a little bit of pressure on the quarterback, Tua is not going to stand back there and find River Craycraft. Or whatever. Did I say his name right? Craycraft?
Yeah.
Craycraft?
Yeah, Craycraft.
That's why a defensive system and having players who are on that line are so important to a secondary success. In the same way, if you have better corners, then you don't necessarily have to worry about having that pass rush. And you don't have to have Fedarian Mathis and KJ Henry and Andre Jones Jr. rushing the quarterback and not getting pressure. If you've got studs back there, you don't have to worry about having those. But I think it will make a difference when you have Payne and Allen in there getting attacks on the quarterback. Not all the time.
That's an obvious. Yeah, I agree with you. And it's obvious, but at the same time, that was just a routine throw by Tua to River Craycraft. It was no scramble. It was no special route. It was just a go route. And he got beat off the line first off. And then he tried to catch up, and it was too late. That's just standard cornerback play, whether you have good pass rush or not. Yeah. So I do agree with you, but at the same time,
definitely not giving St. Juice a pass. Because if you are a stud,
you should corner, because you could complete it.
What do you mean?
Give him a pass.
Say what you said again and think about it.
Yeah, my bad.
I like that. I like that one. That's a good one.
But I'm not giving him an excuse. I'm not giving him a reason that he didn't make the play. He's got to make that play.
I mean, you got to, bro.
But in the course of a season, you're going to see, hopefully, less of that with this team because you're going to have better players making plays up front.
Yeah.
And that's what you hope. Sure. But you're absolutely right. Benjamin St. Juice, who is a starting corner on this team, should not be getting beat that bad off the line by a third string wide receiver.
So 2 things. One, I very much disagree with your take on the line. It was the number one thing when I had posted my quick thoughts on this. And I said that the no pass rush is going to be a problem. And most people agree with you, Stoner. We didn't even see our pass rush. We have a lot of defensive people that are out. And we got a lot of pressure this time. And I'm sorry, I just didn't see it. Like, it didn't feel, as much as I love advanced analytics, okay? And I understand that a pressure is quality, okay? There is quality pressures, and then there is pressures that are, okay, you had to move the quarterback out, but the quarterback still completes a routine throw, right? They all both get put in the books the same. And it doesn't feel like the pass rush that we've seen, even in joint practices that we've heard about, is going to be successful. And I don't love the idea of relying once again on Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen to be the workhorses in that department. Okay.
Why not?
They're going to be taking double teams and triple teams. Okay. They should not be leading the team in sacks. We should have a dominant edge rusher, but we don't.
Yeah.
We have barely passable edge rushers, in my opinion. I mean, they're okay. Whose comment did I share earlier that here we go from Coach Lombard. Coach, good to see you here. Farrell sets the edge against the run. Armstrong and Fowler Jr. are mid pass rushers.
Agreed. Agree with all of that.
Yeah. And the point is that it's going to be frustrating because of what you said, Stoner, is if they can't generate pressure with even Allen and Payne in there, if they're not generating pressure, those outside corners are trouble.
Yeah, I agree.
This quarterback room outside of Mike Sanistril, I'm okay if they all disappear.
Sure. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you, but they're not going to disappear this year, at least.
No.
And so you are going to have to rely on especially those two top 100 players. Maybe Payne's not top 100. He's right there. But those two stud defensive tackles. And they've had to do that in the past when they've had better than average non-mid pass rushers, i.e. Sweat and Chase, right? Those guys were average to above average. Chase was average. Yeah. Chase was not mid. He was not less than mid, I guess.
I think his rookie season, he was above average, and then he
was
very
mid.
much average or below average after that.
And Sweat was above that. And still, they could not put enough pressure that would bail out their corners and their safeties, because we saw this defense just absolutely get murdered, especially this past year when just constant getting killed. But it all has to work together. And it also has to work together with the proper coaching as well.
Yes.
Do we not believe in Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr.?
I do, which is
I definitely
my second part to this, Stoner, was how much do you put into what Dan Quinn has said, which is this preseason, they're deliberately putting people in situations they might not thrive to test them. And we've seen that St. Juice in a man-on-man situation, not his strength. You had Davis, who got beat on the same play back to back. First time he's like, yeah, my bad. The second time he still gets beat. So like, how much stock do you put in what Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. are trying to do, which is putting these guys in uncomfortable positions, which is making them look bad. Making them look really bad right now in the preseason games and joint practice. How much of it is that? And how much of it is these guys really are just bad?
It's both, I think. I think what in the past we have brought corners that thrive in coverage, like zone coverage rather than man-to-man coverage, and we've asked them to try and play man-to-man, which is, I think, what Dan Quinn is hinting. We brought some guys in who've been doing this for so long, so we're going to put them in this kind of position to see how well they thrive or not thrive in that position. And that just goes from all the way back to William Jackson. William Jackson was a lockdown, quote-unquote, cornerback for Cincinnati for years. When we got him, I was excited, but we used him wrong. And what happened? He doesn't have a job anymore. All because we put him in an uncomfortable position and asked him, just go ahead and do it. Just do it. We don't care. You can do it. Just do it. It doesn't work like that. So I do take stock in what Dan Quinn is saying. He's being honest about it, and we're seeing it on the field. So I don't know if they're going to continue doing that, or if they're just like, I don't know what their plan is, but yeah, I take stock in what he's saying.
I think it's also fair to say, concerning the defense against both the Jets and the Dolphins in those first couple of drives in each of them, they're not going out there and doing anything exotic.
No,
it's a very vanilla defense that they're and doing things that they're not going to do in the regular season. So I think that's also sort of where we have to pump the brakes a little bit on killing this defense and what they did in these preseason games, because they're not going to play that style of defense when it comes to the regular season. That doesn't mean they're all of a sudden going to be great and they're going to be this awesome
85
defense.
Bears.
But I think we have to at least give them the benefit of the doubt that Joe Witt Jr. and Dan Quinn, defensive-minded guys, are going to be able to put guys in better situations than they're showing in the preseason. They're not going to put all their cards on the table in the preseason. Dan Quinn has said it very clearly. In fact, the offense that they were running, we haven't even talked about the offense. We've been talking about the defense. Dan Quinn said very clearly about the offense, we're running the other team's offense because we're not going to show anybody anything of what we're going to do. We're going to show the other team, we're going to play the other team's offense when we go out there. And we're just going to run some very basic stuff. So we at least got to give him a chance, give him an opportunity.
Let's move a little bit to the offense here. Gus Bus with the defense will cause Jayden to play hero ball like he did last year at LSU. Very worried about that. I agree. This defense might mean we're going to be in a few shootouts.
Yeah.
But right now, Jayden Daniels looking like he can handle that. He's looking good. Yeah. I definitely walked away with this. We talked last week. I said I need 2 solid drives, and then you can pull him. We got 2 solid drives, and he got pulled.
Yeah.
He can run an offense. And he's running the other team's offense, right? And that is fantastic. And he absolutely looks part. I don't want to talk too much on Jayden Daniels because we got an entire segment about him, but I did want to touch on that. Let's talk about who else we saw there. Todd here. I was really impressed by Jeff Driscoll this preseason. He's played hard. He deserves a spot on this team. Keep Mariota so he can mentor Jayden. Driscoll can make the practice squad. Now we're going to talk 53-man predictions later, but man, Jeff Driscoll, I know people are focusing on the run because that was like the most exciting thing in this game for us, but I definitely think he has earned a roster spot here in Washington, and that I'm not saying we're going to win games with them, but at least I feel like this offense can still move the ball if Jeff Driscoll is the QB. I thought he did well in this game against Miami.
I agree. I think he did well in Miami and against the Jets too. I think the Jets, he was leading us down the field, getting his position, getting first downs. He had that 16-yard scramble that was like 1st and 18 that made it to 2nd and 2 to get us in field goal position or whatever. So yeah, I agree. I think he makes a spot. To be honest, I go ahead and stash Mariota on the practice squad and make Driscoll quarterback too. But I don't know if that's really going to happen because he can still mentor on the practice squad. I mean, he can, but I think he's definitely earned a spot on this roster as quarterback 2 or 3.
I'm gonna say this for the 17th year in a row that if we see Jeff Driscoll get any playing time, the season's over. Yeah, it's really bad. But I get what you're saying, what you guys are saying. I have seen, and I was going to mention this as well, what Doug is saying. If you want to put a guy in your practice squad, the first thing you got to do is cut him and open him up to any other team signing him. Same with like Trev wants to cut Mariota and put him on the practice squad. You cut Mariota, somebody's picking him up.
Yeah. You think so?
Have you seen some of the backup quarterbacks in this league?
Have you seen Marcus Mariota play football starting and backup?
And I said it after I went to training camp. I said Mariota is poop.
He
is really bad.
He's going to be on this roster because he's a seasoned vet.
Yeah, that's absolutely. But I look at Driscoll. Driscoll is this year's Jake Fromm. Remember how last year everybody wanted Fromm to be QB2? Do we remember that?
I don't remember that. We're going to have to bring up the tape because I don't remember asking for him to be QB2.
I think Nathan was probably the leader in the clubhouse about that. No, but I'm saying a lot of people were saying because what he was doing in the preseason that he should have been QB2. We all know that's not true. Jeff Driscoll's been around for a while, right?
A while.
He's made a few starts in this league. He's played some tight end in this league. Let's not forget that as well.
I don't remember.
He's a great athlete. He can do a lot of things well. What he can't do well, he can't win football games as your starting quarterback.
No, he's awful at winning games.
Right. Yeah. So let's calm down about Jeff Driscoll. He's not QB2. He's not. I don't think he's anywhere close. As much as I don't like Mariota, he's not anywhere close to being in Mariota's class.
He ran with the seconds today at practice and did some
that's because Mariota's banged up.
Mariota continues to be injured.
Yeah. McSorley's there. McSorley didn't run with
McSorley's there. So is Sam Hartman is actually practicing. Everybody said he went on the IL. He didn't go on the IL, I don't think.
Nah, he's just not doing team drills.
Right. They had 5 quarterbacks in practice today. And Jeff Driscoll, to me, is QB3 at best. He's not going to make the 53. He's going to get cut, and he's going to be opened up. Nobody's going to pick him up.
That's fine.
He's going to practice squad.
I challenge you on that one. I actually think, and little cool down preview here, I think that they're going to keep 3 QBs because of the injuries going around in the QB room.
Injuries, that's different.
Hold on. I'm saying he's still going to, I'm saying he's going to be on the 53. In fact, I bet you $1, Stoner, that that's going to happen.
I can't do that because Mariota, because of the injuries. If Mariota wasn't injured,
we're shying away now. Well, it's all right. It's okay.
You need
fine.
him.
If you want to be
if
a chicken,
Mariota's
that's
injured.
fine. I can tell you what, though. You can also head over to Bet Online because they're the world's most trusted betting platform on your number one source for everything football. From the preseason NFL to college kicking off, Bet Online has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. Think you know your stuff? Get in on their winner-take-all $300,000 NFL Survivor Pool for the upcoming season. When the game's over, head on over to the online casino and get in on a game of blackjack, poker, or unwind with one of the 150 slot games. Head over to the website today, use the promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, and get in on the action. Bet Online, the game starts here. I was trying to shoehorn the ad read in there, Stoner. So, I didn't want you to keep jumping in on there. I do dollar on the Driscoll making the 53, but it seems like you're not willing to take the bait there.
I'm not.
Come on, he's a Florida guy, isn't he? Isn't he a Florida
guy? Yeah. And I'm not, like I said, because of the injury factor. Obviously, you need a legit QB2 if Mariota is banged up. If Mariota is 100% healthy, he's not making the 53. He's just not. He's not that good, guys. I mean, we're getting carried away. Did he show some good things? Yeah. Jake Fromm did last year,
but that's just because I have zero faith in Marcus Mariota. Like I've shared the image before that I created for our buddy Tim in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Like he's not good at this stage. Has he done things in the past? Absolutely. But at this stage, I don't want him on my team. I would take
I agree.
The Hive returning.
Whoa.
At QB2?
That's not
over Marcus Mariota?
Ooh, I might be with you, Nathan, on that. I don't like Mariota.
Hat tip, by the way, to District Divided. I was listening to their recap, and they came up with that idea. So,
however,
folks out there,
the Hive be gone.
However, as much as I don't like Mariota, he's a much better quarterback than Jeff Driscoll. He just is.
I just haven't seen it recently.
It's why Driscoll bounces around the league as QB3.
Marcus bounces around.
I was about to say Marcus is on his sixth team now.
Yeah, as QB2 and QB1 before that. Jeff Driscoll's never been QB1. And he's probably never even been QB2.
Yeah, Locked on Law chiming in with exactly what you said, Stoner.
Yeah.
If the backup QB isn't important, if Jayden Daniels is out, we're screwed. It's just an entirely different season if that's the case. By the way, Biggie, I did see your comment about our favorite under the radar guy. We're going to do that in our 53-man predictions. I want to let you know I'm not ignoring. I've seen a couple of your comments that are continuing to talk about that. That doesn't really play into the Miami game, but I just wanted to let you know we did see it. We're going to make sure we talk about it in the cool down. Sticking here with this game 2 of the preseason and even the joint practice, we so desperately need a kicker. I don't care that he made all of his field goals yesterday and he was 6 of 7, missed a 54-yarder and then made a 58-yarder today. He should not be the opening day kicker. That was abysmal.
I'm starting to think that maybe he will be. When I listened to the Dan Quinn interview from yesterday on the Junkies, right? And he kind of talked a little bit about Riley Patterson. And he liked what he heard from Riley Patterson during the game when he talked to him. And he asked him what went wrong. And Riley Patterson told him exactly what went wrong. And Dan Quinn says, look, I have a problem with guys who do something wrong. And then you ask them about it and they say they don't know. That's when I have a problem. But if he knows what he did wrong and he can fix it, then maybe you have something here. Now, he has kind of mentioned in some of his press conferences that they're not sure that they have their kicker on their team right now, and that's a concern. But they might end up sticking with Riley Patterson. I hope not, because you can't go out in a game and have Jayden Daniels go right down the field and get stopped on a third down and have a 42-yard field goal attempt and miss it by 20 yards. You can't do that. You can't have that happen to your team. This 70, I'm making up a number, 74% of games in the NFL, of all the games last year, were decided by one score.
Mm-hmm.
That's how important kickers are nowadays. You have to have a guy that you can rely on who's going to go out there and make kicks that they're supposed to make. And going 2 for 4, and I don't know what he was in the Jets game. Was he 1 for 2? I can't remember. But if he's like 3 for 5 in the you can't have that. And it's crazy because it was just a couple of years ago the guy was like 31 of 35.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was like 2 seasons ago. He didn't just all of a sudden forget how to kick, but confidence seems to be an issue, right? But you can't go into week 1 with this Riley Pat, and you got one more game. If he can go out there and go 4 for 4 against New England, he might stay on this team, but we'll see.
He missed his one attempt, by the way, against the Jets.
So he's 0-1, and he was 2 of 4 against Miami.
So he's 2 for 5 in 2 preseason games.
Yeah.
That ain't cutting it.
You can't 40%. I mean, most kickers kick 88% nowadays.
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah.
Metaphor saying problem is that last year we account for 20 of the other 30% that weren't one-score games. Getting blown out quite a bit. The defense, we'll see. A lot of people want to hold on to the D-line returning and being the difference maker. I just don't see it. They didn't do it last year. What's that?
Can I make a prediction? I'm going to do a Nathan-type prediction. I'm going to go against the grain. Last year, Nathan said the offensive line was going to be a top 10 unit. I mean, he hit his head. He bumped his head last year before that.
I was riding high on EB, man. I don't know what I was thinking.
Riding high. Right. I'm riding high on Joe Witt Jr. / Dan Quinn. Now, Dan Quinn's not every day, but he's still a defensive-minded coach, right? Head coach.
Yes.
I believe in them. And I believe this defense. I'm not saying top 10. Let's not get crazy. But they were 31st, 32nd.
Not bottom 5?
They're not. I'm going to say they're going to be top 3rd. So they'll be
top 3rd?
1 through 19. Right?
That's 1 through 11.
That's, I was about to say top 3rd, buddy. 1/3 of 32 teams.
Okay, so top. I can't do the math. I'm not a math major.
It's about 10. The top
20
10
or
teams.
better.
20 or better? That's
about
just over half. That's not even a top 16 is half.
Right.
The top half?
No. I don't think they're going to.
You're saying top 15.
Much. No, I'm not saying that much.
Okay, you're saying they're going to be still in the bottom 3rd, is what you're saying, but not they're going to be the top of the bottom 3rd.
See, you guys can't do that math.
What is going on right now?
See, that's what I'm saying.
Like, they'll be the top 3rd. They'll be in the top 20.
Top 20 is what I'm saying.
Top 20. Okay.
Okay. They're not going to be in the bottom 3rd.
Okay.
And the bottom 3rd is like 21 to 32 or 22.
All right. We'll stick with that one. Now, you brought up the offensive line. I am not bullish on the offensive line this year. I'm not going to go that much. For the record, for those who might be joining us and weren't here last year, the reason why I thought they were going to be a top 10 unit is because I thought the Eric Bieniemy offense was going to do its job and keep Sam Howell from getting tackled, a lot of quick throws, a lot of stuff like that. Didn't happen. Did not happen. The O-line, for me, is a concern this year. I'm not a fan of Wiley. I want to see Brandon Coleman, but he seems like he can be the real deal, but we just haven't seen him.
Yeah, he's banged
and
up.
I don't like the replacements out there. Alan Gretty has gotten beat a couple different times. I like his pull. I like his athleticism, but man, if we're going into the season with this offensive line, which looks like we are, we're going to be very much relying on Jayden Daniels' legs and Cliff Kingsbury's offense to keep these pass rushers at bay.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I don't like our chances.
I think Cole will be ready for week 1.
I don't think you will, but that's all right.
I mean, if not, maybe week 2. It's not going to be that long without Brandon Cole. But what we did see from him, it's very promising. Like you said, Nathan, it looks like he could play the part of what we've been lacking for the past several years since pretty much Trent Williams. Andrew Wiley is a wild card. Sam Cosmi is the best lineman we have. I like our center. He was a very good center for Dallas. It seems like him and Jayden have a good chemistry right now so far.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's like one of the first person that Jayden daps up in practice as a center. Saw that today. Allegretti, jury's still out on him. Like he was a backup in Kansas City, not a starter.
Still a backup. Still
a backup.
I like him.
He's a starter, but I like him too. But yeah, I think our offensive line will be a little bit better than it was last year. I do think that there will be an improvement. I mean, for Pete's sake, we had Nick Gates as our starting center at one point. And then we had Trent Scott in there and Cornelius Lucas in there, who's not that bad as a backup LT2, Lucas. I could live with that. Not a starting, but backup, I could live with that. Yeah. I just think it'll be a little bit better, not by much, but I think the offense is going to be so different than what we saw last year that our offensive line might look better and can do better things to keep our quarterback upright rather than eating dirt 46, 65 times like last year for Sam Howell. So
I think it's fair to believe in this coaching staff. Again, I do believe in this coaching staff. Even Cliff Kingsbury, who I don't think is going to be a great coordinator, and I didn't like the hire, but I think he recognizes what he has, especially on that offensive line. And although it was just preseason, but almost every play Jayden Daniels threw the ball, it was a quick play. It was a bubble screen. It was a quick out. It was a 2-step drop or whatever. And I think the statistics showed that he had the shortest time, drop back time of the entire preseason. And in fact, it was shorter than anybody had in the NFL all of last year. It was like 2 something seconds. He was getting the ball and he was getting it out. And again, it was a vanilla offense that they were running out there. But I think that sort of concept is not lost on these coaches, that they understand that they have playmakers out there and they have a weak offensive line and they need to get that ball out. And they've got a quarterback who tends to take sacks. So let's put him and the team in a better position to be able to be a successful offense. Instead of last year, you had the same situation. You had a quarterback who tended to take sacks. You had a bad offensive line, and you dropped him 7 steps half of the time and dropped him back 55 times a game, right? And that doesn't work. We all know that as a bunch of yahoos watching the games, that you just can't do that. And they did it week after week after week. They're not going to do that this year. They're not. I'm not saying Jayden Daniels isn't going to have plays where he has 7-step drops and gets pummeled. It's going to happen, right? But it's not going to be as often as what we saw last year.
Well, let's hope. And I do have some Cliff Kingsbury stats to share with everybody, but I'm going to do that here in the game where we're going to be talking about Jayden Daniels being named QB1. Let's put preseason to rest because, like I said, in the cool down, we might briefly mention the Patriots game, but realistically, we're more interested in who's making the 53. So that'll be coming up in the cool down. But right now, let's move on to the game. Welcome to episode 187's The Game. It's QB1. And a not surprising at all move, Dan Quinn came out Monday and named Jayden Daniels the starter for the 2024 season, probably ending his preseason and getting ready for those Buccaneers in week 1. This was something we all expected when he was drafted, so it's not a surprise to anybody, but it's still... It became official And Trev, what did it feel like for you when this announcement was made?
Cool. We already knew that was going to. I mean, we drafted him number 2 overall. We needed a quarterback. There was no way in HE double hockey sticks he was not going to be named QB1.
Mhm.
I mean, there was just no reason to think that. I'm happy about the process. I'm kind of a fan of it. You've got to earn everything, not given, even though between the lines he's probably, given. But the same thing. He sent the message to the team, like, nothing's given to you. You got to earn it.
Mhm.
And Jayden Daniels understands that. And who knows, maybe he could have come out and just been a train wreck in training camp. Maybe he couldn't grasp NFL offenses or defenses as fast as we thought. There was a possibility of that, but I didn't think it was that big of a possibility. So when the news broke, I was like, finally, I know he was tired of getting asked the question. We finally answered the question. So it was just like, cool, what's next?
You know what was really telling for me was when somebody asked Dan Quinn after he had talked about it, that he had talked to Jayden and told him, you earned it, you worked hard for it, and you deserve it. And then somebody said, well, what have you already let the team know, or the rest of the guys, or how did you let the team know, or whatever? And he said, the team already knew before any of you guys knew, because the team just, these things.
They're out there.
They're out there every day watching him prep and do his work and connect and all this stuff. They knew from day one, kind of like we did. All of us as fans, we kind of knew, but it's a little bit different when it's teammates and they're out there every single day. They knew. They saw it every day in practice, starting way back in the OTAs. And he did everything that was asked, not just from a sort of a coaching standpoint, but from being able to do it on the field.
Yeah.
And he's shown it from day one. So it wasn't really a shocker.
No.
I was kind of shocked that they actually didn't just come right out in training camp day one and say, look, he's our QB1, that they waited this long. But I like Trev said, I like that they went through the process and made him earn it instead of just giving it to him. Like they gave a lot of too many starting quarterback jobs around here in the past. When they gave Dwayne Haskins the job, when they gave RG3 the job,
Sam Howell last year
a couple of times, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember especially that one year. I think year 3 for RG3, it's his job or whatever. And about halfway through camp, Jay Gruden is like, I can't do this, right? Kirk Cousins is clearly outplaying him. But Dan said, RG3 is the guy, so I got to say he's the guy. But they didn't do that here. They said he's going to start out as the guy, and then we're going to go for it. And he earned it. And it's a lot different than last year, I feel like. Because remember last year they did the same with Sam Howell, right?
Yeah.
They didn't name him QB1.
Yeah.
We all knew he was QB1, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing happened this year, but it was just a little bit different because Jayden Daniels clearly took the job and ran with it. You wish some other guys did that in other positions, but he just took it and ran with it.
I mean, he did exactly what I wanted to see when we hit camp. I said, I need Jayden Daniels to be heads and shoulders just above everybody.
Right.
Just be the best player.
Yeah.
And he has been just the best player on the field for all of training camp. And it's noticeable. And that's why when DQ's talking about how the team knows, they're sitting there with the snaps, and he has this charisma, and he's very humble, and he's doing everything he needs to do, showing up early, working hard, working with his teammates, enjoying the game. That it just is one of those things that I think people just came around and went for. I loved it. And yes, Tommy T's called me out here. That yes, drafting wise, I was going for JJ McCarthy.
Sure.
I said I'd be happy with any of the big 3. Mm-hmm. I said Jayden Daniels is someone who I think is going to be an offensive rookie of the year candidate. Been very excited about him. I had one concern, and that was the sacks, which is what JG wants to talk about. How big of a problem is his lack of self-protection going to be? Because we didn't want to talk about him in the dress rehearsal, but one thing that he showed off was his wheels.
Sure.
Yes.
He took what should have been like a 3-yard gain and just ran with it. Now the problem was at the end of the run, he didn't go down.
Yeah.
He didn't slide. He wasn't trying.
Right.
He tried to get more yards. How big of an issue is JG asking that lack of self-protection going to be this season? Is he going to become, as Trey Huff was asking, do you think he is an RG3 repeat if he gets hit? Now, thankfully, Nagata is no longer in the league. Otherwise, I would be extremely concerned, especially since we do play Baltimore again this year.
I don't necessarily think there's a lack of self-protection. There's been plenty of tape out there that shows him at both colleges, Arizona State and LSU, that he slides. He's just, I think that scramble and him not sliding was just him showing that he can be aggressive if needed to be. Just like he checked that go route instead of doing a screen play. He showed the coaches that he's capable of doing that. I don't think he's going to try and run over everybody every time he gets out in the open.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to know when to slide and when not to slide. Now, if there's 4 defenders in front of you and they're all jacked up linebackers and safeties, he's going to slide. But he's not going to slide if the field's wide open. He's going to keep going until he knows when to slide or not to slide. I don't think that's a lack of self-protection at all. So I'm not really concerned about it. Yeah, you probably want to see him slide, but it's preseason.
Yeah.
And the hit, he got like 2-hand touched. It wasn't even that big of a tackle, that big of a hit. I mean, yeah, you want to see him get down, but I don't think he's going to.
Right there, Trev.
Detriment.
What you just said, Trev, it's very simple. Yeah, you want to see him get down.
You do, but at the same time, you want to see if he can do something.
That's it.
No.
I mean, come on.
I think it's a concern.
It's football. We're not playing scared football. You just got to know when to slide. Doesn't mean you have to be scared. He's not.
I didn't
you
say
don't
scared.
want to see a quarterback be scared. Just
I didn't say scared.
Some toughness. He didn't bowl anybody over. He didn't lower his shoulder. He just was running, and then he got tackled and went down. He popped. He didn't even get tackled that hard. It was preseason. Yeah.
You're right.
It's not that big of an issue, you guys. He's going to know when to slide and when not to slide. End of story. He is.
For the record, Tommy agrees with you, and I do as well, Trev. I'm with you, Trev. Bro. I'm with you, Trev. Because honestly, we've seen the statistics. We've talked to a doctor here on this channel. Jayden Daniels is no more at risk running the ball than he is standing behind the pocket. And if you look at his college tape, Sam Fortier did a fantastic job looking at all of them.
Yeah.
And his ugliest hit that took him out of a game came from behind the pocket, throwing the ball. He's going to be at risk getting injured because he's 6'4" and like 180 pounds, sopping wet. I know he's thicker than that, guys. Don't, I know the comment section is going to get on me for, making him look like Emmanuel Forbes. But him running the ball, I do want to see him play smartly. Okay. Yes. I'm with you again on Trev on that. I want to see him play smartly. But if you watch his tape, he does things outside of sliding, which as Joshua here mentioned during the presser, he said, I don't practice slide. I don't even know how to slide, right? Like Jayden Daniels isn't a slider. What he does though, is he uses his athletic ability to not get hit. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes he gets a 250, 300 pound lineman just sandwiching him into the ground. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm a little concerned about it, but I really don't think he needs to play scared. I want him to play unlocked is what I want him to play. Yeah,
I think
I knew people were going to see. I knew people were going to get on to me about underweighing him.
I think you're both insane. I'm not saying play scared. I'm not saying that his risk of injury is the same in the pocket as it is out of the pocket. I'm saying be smart. And Dan Quinn is adamant that he gets down. He doesn't have to slide. Let's not worry about the whole slide thing. He needs to get down when it's time to get down and avoid unnecessary hits because of his size and because of the position that he plays. So on that run, he didn't get hit that hard, but Dan Quinn got on his butt because he wants him to get down before there's any possibility of him getting hit.
And that
It's
goes
the
back to
same way
playing smart.
in the pocket, right? He doesn't want him to get crushed in the pocket either. So do all the things that's necessary to not get hit in the pocket, as well as do the things necessary when you're outside of the pocket to not take hits. That's what he needs to do. He needs to know when it's the time to get down and protect himself to avoid the possibility of getting an injury.
For the record, I loved
It's not scared.
after that run. I loved the reaction between him and Dan Quinn, because Dan was super excited and he was running over there, but he was also nervous about it. And Jayden Daniels pops up and kind of looks at him like, okay, yeah, I got carried away there.
Right.
Carried away.
He's a kid. Okay.
And
let's not forget
him,
he's still a kid and he's still learning. Okay.
And they're teaching him to get down.
Yes.
And
it'll be just fine.
Avoid that. I hope
they
so.
also know, Stoner. Right. They know that if he's not the QB for this team, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
Big time trouble if he's there.
Well, they're in trouble.
Coach Lombard here, he's 214. Yeah. So the third time I got corrected, even though I was joking about the 180. But Coach Lombard, he's 214. He should be 224, even 234. Now, so funny that you mentioned this, Coach, because this is something the teams actually come out and addressed. They don't want him gaining weight. They do not want him packing on unnecessary pounds.
Sure.
Because they know that putting on that weight doesn't necessarily make him a better QB. He's playing well at his current weight. Now, the extra weight's supposed to potentially protect him or make it easier. But as Big East talks about, I've said all along, Anthony Richardson is 6'4", 250, and gets injured in the first game of NFL career and is out for the season. Doesn't matter how big he is, how much extra weight should help. No one knows. So yeah, I don't want him. I don't want being hit.
But how did Anthony Richardson get hurt? Do you all remember
lowering his shoulder, trying to? I think he's probably like run somebody over.
Yeah, I think he wanted to
not going to try and run anybody over. I think Jayden's smarter than that.
Right. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying to be scared. I'm not saying to not be aggressive. I'm not saying to not showcase your talents, your athletic ability. But when it's time, you have to know. And if that means 4 less yards because you got down early, come on, do that. Just be smart. And they're going to coach it into him. I'm telling you right now, and you're going to start seeing it. And you're going to start seeing him going down earlier because he needs to. It's basic math. If you don't get hit, you're probably not going to get hurt. It's pretty simple. And if you do get hit, if you open yourself up, I'm not saying you will, but the chances are higher that you're going to get hit in the pocket or out of the pocket. You don't want him standing there in the pocket and getting hit either, right? You want him to be coached out of however that is, to have a feel for the pocket, to step up in the pocket, to understand when a blitz is coming, to be able to read a defense, all of those things as well, right? You want to be able to protect the quarterback at all times. And they are telling Mahomes to get down, by the way. If you remember, he has been hurt running out of the pocket a couple of times.
Yeah, plenty of times.
So for our podcast listeners, Jersey chimed in with, hold on, Jersey. I thought I had your up here. Where was it? That Patrick, it was Locked On Law, that Jayden weighs more than Mahomes, who weight is 225 listed on Google.
Yeah, I don't think
Mahomes get down. People mentioned that Uptown Dre, Jayden is heavier than Lamar Jackson. What are we talking about? Come on, man.
I don't know if that's true either.
They're pretty close.
Lamar lost weight this year.
Yeah,
I think this year he might be under 214, Lamar Jackson. But I think last year he was. I think he was in the 220s.
But again, you want Lamar to get down early. You want Patrick Mahomes to get down early. You want, if God forsake, if somehow Tom Brady gets out of the pocket and starts running, you want him to get down early.
That's
Well,
Tom
You
Brady.
want
I was gonna
all
say,
of these guys.
Tom Brady's
to get
not
down
running
early.
away from anybody, so him getting down
That's
early
Tom
is a
Brady.
sack.
I'm not saying it's because he's too small. I'm saying it because he's the quarterback. He's the franchise. Just get your butt down when it's necessary and don't
Exactly.
take hits.
I was about to say,
Period.
Fine.
can we stop phrasing it then, Stoner, as get his butt down and just avoid the big hits? Can he just
Yeah.
do that?
He can run out of bounds.
Yeah, that's the same thing.
Yeah,
That's
that's what
the
I'm
same
saying.
thing.
Avoid the big hits. However he needs to do it.
Yeah, he's gonna
Avoid
be fine.
the hits.
He's gonna be fine.
Don't say
There's
big
no lack
hits.
of self-protection there. There is
All right,
none.
we'll see.
He's gonna be fine.
Well, part of that protection is going to
This is gonna
come
get coached
from the offensive scheme that's called. I promised you some stats on Cliff Kingsbury, preseason stats. I'm going to put that out there, but this is courtesy of Ian Hartzitz of the Fantasy Life Show. Push this out on Twitter. Cliff Kingsbury experience, he says, has been on full display through 8 quarters of preseason action. Terry McLaurin has lined up on the offensive left side 28 out of 29 snaps. Now, practice today, apparently, they had him moving around. They probably were like, oh, we should probably show people that he can move around. For the record, DeAndre Hopkins did the same thing in Arizona, had a 1,400-yard season. Not really concerned about him lining up on the outside, but these are the Cliff Kingsbury offensive notes here from Ian. Quick pace, league high 34% no huddle rate with the Cardinals. Washington this preseason, no huddle rate, 56%. Steelers second place, 13%.
Yeah.
That no huddle, the quick passes and that stuff, that's how they're going to get there because right now, not a whole lot of motion. And which actually is the next note. Washington, dead last in motion, 10%. And 31st in play action rate, 15%.
Yeah.
Which is exactly where Kingsbury was during his time with the Cardinals. And then, but something that I think is important, only the Eagles and the Panthers have run a higher percentage of snaps featuring a run pass option than the Commanders, who are at 22%. Okay. So a lot of RPOs, a lot of options there for him to use his legs. So what are we feeling about Cliff Kingsbury married to our QB1, our savior of the franchise, the guy who's going to break this god-awful list of QBs that we've trotted out as QB1 over the last 3 decades? What do we think about Cliff Kingsbury and this offense that he's bringing to the table, and how's he going to protect Jayden Daniels or make Jayden Daniels a bona fide star in this league?
I think it's unfair to take the preseason stats, right, and try and rank everything on that. However, what it does show is that he's continuing on the same trend, Cliff Kingsbury is, that he has throughout his time in the NFL, of guys lining up in the same spot, of no motion on their offense, no play action passing, or less than everybody else. It's unfair to do that, to compare when it's only been preseason. Now, when it comes to the games, if that happens, then we might have to kind of talk about it and see if there's an issue with it. But as you said, when you look back at the Arizona offenses, they were pretty darn good offenses. And they were run-heavy offenses as well. And you had a receiver like DeAndre Hopkins getting almost 1,500 yards receiving, lining up in almost the exact same spot every time and not motioning at all. And that's what he was very successful at that. Me personally, I don't think that amounts to a good offense. But obviously it worked in Arizona. So we at least have to give him that opportunity to show us that this sort of offense can work.
Also, what have we ever thought about maybe these receivers aren't motion types of wide receivers? They're just DeAndre Hopkins probably wasn't that successful if he's running in motion, probably just lining up straight up man-to-man and going and running a route. That could play a part too. A lot of receivers that are in motion are your slot receivers, your running backs, your fullbacks. They're not usually your main outside targets running motion. This isn't old school where you saw that from back in the day. I think it's fine. I mean, it's like you said, it's preseason. I was watching a podcast clip. Sam Cassell was talking about playing with Hakeem Olajuwon, and Hakeem Olajuwon had like horrible stats, and they were 0-8. And Hakeem said preseason stats don't go to New York. So when they started regular season, they went 21-0 when they started regular season. So all the I don't take any stock into these stats. I think they're just reporters having to do something that has to do with their job for the preseason, because it's just their job. I'm not worried about Terry lining up in the same spot. If you can't guard Terry line up in the same spot, why change it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
D Hopkins get 1,500 yards lying in the same spot, but now you want to sit him in motion because the stat says he lines up in the same spot 90% of the time. Doesn't matter. He's successful there.
Last time I checked, you can still run the entire route tree from either the left or right.
Yeah. Look, I mean, it's not that simple to say that, but the concern is, for me anyway, I mean, why do you put a guy in motion in the first place? What's
to
the whole
see if somebody's a man-to-man? Check the defense.
Right, to be able to check and see what the defense is doing so your quarterback can make decisions off of that. Now, to me, okay, sorry, I'm going to slander the guy, but Kyler Murray was not the type of guy who can read a defense. He's not a guy who gets in the playbook, who understands what to do. He can, however, find DeAndre Hopkins wide open, because DeAndre Hopkins is a stud receiver. And so they didn't need to run any sort of motion because DeAndre Hopkins was that much better than that guy. And Kyler Murray could sit there and do that. Now, what we're hoping is that Jayden Daniels can, if you put a guy in motion, can then decipher what the defense is doing and be able to make adjustments off of that. That's kind of what we're hoping for with this sort of offense. And that's why I like seeing guys in motion, because that gives the quarterback an opportunity to make decisions. And we all think that Jayden Daniels is the type of quarterback who can do that, who can look at what's going on that other side and be able to change plays, or be able to just say, I know where I need to go with this because I know what they're doing. That's why I would like to see motion. But we're not in there every day with these coaches, right? We're not understanding what they're doing in terms of X's and O's for each of these weeks, and it's only preseason. But we'll see how it plays out. But I will have a problem if 3 weeks into the season and they're not doing any motion and their offense is kind of sputtering. I'm going to say, well, some guys
if it's sputtering here, but we just talked about how the Arizona offense under Cliff Kingsbury, which had similar to the stats, these preseason stats, was successful. At least in the beginning of the year, it started off pretty strong.
Yeah.
You know, we've listed a few reasons why the motion's good. I do think part of it, Stoner, is the league has been shifting towards, pun intended, motion, right?
Yes.
You see motion almost every play because there are benefits to it. And so it's not normal now to see an offense that's not doing that. But there are benefits to lining your wide receiver, especially a stud wide receiver, which we consider Terry, and the NFL has him in the top 100. So he is a stud wide receiver. The benefits to it is he is consistently on that side, and he is just going to be a masterclass over there. Like we saw Hopkins with 1,400 yards in 2020. So there are benefits to both. Yeah. And I think most of it right now is just you're not used to seeing an offense not do that, because all the offenses in the NFL, it's a copycat league, started doing motion and realizing that, hey, motion's actually really successful for various reasons, like Brian mentioning this one. It helps wide receivers avoid press coverage and creates favorable matchups, right? You have Tyreek Hill lined up on the left side. You motion him into the slot. Now all of a sudden he's against your third best corner. That's a good thing.
Right.
It is a good thing. Also, but all these receivers that the people in comments are naming, they're all pro stud wide receivers.
Right.
Terry McLaurin is a really, really good wide receiver. I'm not ready to call him on the level of Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hills, the Jamar Chases. No. And maybe that's not Terry's game to run in motion like that all the time. Maybe he's not a good receiver, or maybe they're working on it in practice and they didn't show it in preseason. Like I said in the group chat, I'm not taking stock on these stats until we get to week 3, 4, or 5, and we're scoring 17 points a game because our Cliff Kingsbury's offense is so stale. Right. But right now, it is what it is.
And I think the other advantage, if there is an advantage in my mind, because I'm just against not motioning. I like motion. I like everything that it brings, that confusing a defense and everything else, and your quarterback being able to read it. But this team has showed, at least in the preseason and what we've seen in camp, they're going to run a lot of no huddle. They're going to run a lot of up-tempo offense, right?
Mm-hmm.
The advantage of having the guy in the same spot every time is that after the play's done, he knows exactly where he has to go. He doesn't have to come back and run up to the quarterback and hear what the lineup is going to be, and where, and am I on the left side, right side, am I in the slot, am I split wide, and all these other things. You go back, you run to your exact same spot, and then you hear what the play is that the quarterback is calling out. That's an advantage. And this team has showed that they're going to do a lot of up tempo and a lot of no huddle offense. So I think that can be a huge advantage. And so we'll see. But we'll see how it sort of works out. We have to give them the benefit of the doubt. We can't base all of this off of preseason, because we don't know what's going to happen in the regular season.
It's going to be a whole other ball game. That's for certain. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So we talked about Cliff Kingsbury with Jayden Daniels, or QB1. Okay. We've talked about Jayden Daniels himself as QB1.
Yeah.
Who on this roster is going to be not his number one target, but the number one player to help Jayden Daniels be successful? Who is it on this roster who you think is going to be the one that is going to help Jayden Daniels be successful?
I'm going to go with a tie maybe between Zach Ertz and Austin Eckler.
Look at
I know you're not big on Zach Ertz.
Pick one.
All right, Austin Eckler. I'll go with that. I think Austin Eckler will be
you and Gus
his bailout guy.
There.
Yeah. I think they're both his bailout guy. If there's nothing else open, you check it down to Austin, or you just hit a quick hitch to Zach Ertz or whatever. I really do believe that. Austin Eckler has shown in preseason that he can be that safety security blanket for Jayden Daniels, and he's shown it in his career with the Chargers. So, and he's a great guy to have to play that role. He's a Swiss Army knife. He can take a handoff. He can take a check down. He can run a route. So that's what I believe.
I think that's fair, and I think Dan is very high on his tight end room with Ben Sinnott, Zach Ertz, John Bates, and possibly we'll see Cole Turner if he makes it or not. And I think that's a great guy to be able to look at and say he's your key. And if Zach Ertz stays healthy, I'll agree with all of that. However, my guy, you know where I'm going. I'm going on the offensive line, and I'm going with his center, with his buddy at center, and Tyler Biadasz, right? Mm-hmm. Is it Biadasz or is it Biadasz?
Biadasz.
Yeah.
Right.
Look at you getting it right the first time.
Yeah, Biadasz. I think that's going to be key because he is a veteran. He's not an older guy. He's a veteran. He's been through the grind for a few years. He is that close to being a Pro Bowl type player. In fact, he may have made one Pro Bowl. I can't remember. He's a Dan Quinn guy, right? Coming from Dallas. And obviously the center is the quarterback of the offensive line who's going to point out the defense. He is so important to Jayden's success that I think he may be even more important than any of the weapons around Jayden Daniels. So I'm going to go with the center, Tyler Biadasz.
He does help with the line protections and everything like that. By the way, he did get a Pro Bowl nod in 2022. So shout out to him there. I think both are great answers. I like the security blankets, which are normal security blankets for a rookie QB, right? You got a tight end or the dump off running back, right?
Yep.
So when he's in trouble, he's going to look for Zach Ertz, or he's going to look for Eckler out there in the flat, just get rid of the ball. I love the Tyler Biadasz. I butchered it. I literally told you how to say it, and I butchered it.
And he butchered.
Yeah, he did. He butchered it.
But I love the center because the line play is going to be really important.
Yeah.
And it's going to start from him and calling. We saw the difference when we had a center who knew how to call protections to when he gets injured, and we're seeing the second and the third and the fourth string, and how that really impacts the offensive line. And so I feel like having him there, who I feel very strongly that's going to be our starting center for the next 5-6 years. Feels great to have a guy like that in the building. I think that's a great answer. My answer is one that people had mentioned few, and I missed them. So I'm not going to necessarily have to scroll all the way back because you guys are killing the comments right now, which I love.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
But it's Brian Robinson in the running game is going to be, I feel like, the biggest help to Jayden Daniels. As long as that running game, Brian Robinson specifically, as we're targeting one player here, is just being a great asset to this team, that's less pressure being put on Jayden Daniels in this offense. He doesn't have to play hero ball if Brian Robinson finishes the year with 1,200 plus rushing yards, right?
Yeah.
If Brian Robinson consistently gets 90 plus yards a game on the ground, it means that Jayden Daniels didn't have to throw for 350 and run for 100 himself.
Yeah.
And I do feel confident that this offense that we're going to see is going to use the running game a lot. I mean, not just the RPOs, not just the times that we're going to see Jayden Daniels breaking it out there, which, by the way, I have him about 700 yards rushing on the season.
I think y'all are crazy.
Too much? Too little?
Yeah, that's too high. Yeah.
Too high. All right. Well, but I'm telling you right now, don't sleep on how important Brian Robinson is to the team. And you don't have to sleep if you head over to don'tsleepenergy.com. Stoner was showing off the energy shot earlier before. You can get that at the website. You can get the sugar-free or the sugar options of their energy drink. It's a local DMV company. You just use the code DISTRICT to get yourself 10% off your entire order. They have that sleek logo there, and you can get it on some fantastic gear. Support a local business and support us by letting them know that we sent you over there. That's the code DISTRICT at don'tsleepenergy.com. Don't Sleep Energy makes you great. You know, I had to segue that somewhere in there during the session here with Jayden Daniels.
Sounds like Jayden's got a lot of options that will help his game out on the offense side of the ball, which is really great, a good thing to have. 2 running backs, tight end, center. That's really good.
I think, I was lambasted, bamboozled when I said Brian Robinson is a Jag a couple seasons ago, right? Everybody was really mad. Remember, Trev was like, he got shot in the leg, Stoner. Remember that? Right? But I think he's poised for a big year. I'm not talking about like any sort of Pro Bowl type year, but I think he's in for a really good year, and I like what Nathan is saying about him being important to this offense, and he is, because if he goes down, what are we looking at? Chris Rodriguez?
No, he's not making 53.
Jeremy McNichols or
Everyone's telling me Wiley is going to be the third running back.
Yeah, so that's how important that he is. Like, for example, if Zach Ertz goes down, what do you have behind him? You've got Ben Sinnott, right? You've got
John Bates.
I was
about to say, you want to go to Ben Sinnott. I know this is a little early. 53-man predictions is coming up later.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you right now, Bates is tight end 2, and we'll see more snaps, injury notwithstanding, than Sinnott.
Ooh, maybe. Probably. The point is, what everybody see that? Does that mean
Stoner
too?
Do Matrix for you? Someone asked earlier, which one of you is slowing down the stream? It's got to be Stoner.
Is it?
Stoner's the guilty party now.
I'm gonna go plug in here in a second. But I lost my train of thought. What were we talking about? B-Rob or
B-Rob?
But if B-Rob goes down,
he goes down,
you're in trouble at the running back position, because you don't want Austin Eckler being your bell cow back, right? You want him.
He doesn't want to be the bell cow back,
right? No, you just want him getting about maybe 10 touches a game, if that, right? So and you want a 2-to-1 ratio, not quite 2-to-1, but you know what I mean. You want a 1-to-1 really of run to pass, and you don't want to be giving the ball to Chris Rodriguez or Michael Wiley or whatever. So he can't. That's why I think he's, like Nathan was saying, is that it's important for him.
He is absolutely a key piece and somebody who is needed for this. Now, while Stoner goes this, he's going to miss this question, so we might have to repeat it. But Metaphor had brought this up a couple different times, but this is the one I was able to tag. National media is starting to kind of be a little down on Jayden Daniels. Some have him listed as ending the season with the most interceptions. So Metaphor here saying, my question is, why did all these national media all of a sudden think Jayden Daniels is going to bomb this year? They were singing praises 2 weeks ago. There's still some that are singing praises. There's a lot of people who like Jayden Daniels, but I have seen what Metaphor is talking about, which is that some people are still thinking, even these people who've sung his praises and are excited about what he's going to bring, think that he's going to have an awful year. One that we highlighted in our own group chat was my man Aaron Schatz, formerly of Football Outsiders, said that Jayden Daniels might be the rookie QB that's not good. Now, he did say that it was probably not of his own doing, but that's somebody who's well trusted within the business to kind of point out who's going to be good and who's not going to be good. So why all of a sudden do people think at the national media level that Jayden Daniels is going to struggle?
Because they saw our offensive line and how unhealthy it is and how lack of production it's been over the recent years and a little bit even this year. I don't think it's necessarily an indictment on his play personally, like you said. I think it's just what's surrounding him that could lead to him having a dismal year, which is very possible. We all thought Sam Howell was going to light it up last year because he had De'Ami Brown and John Dotson was singing his praises on the arm and the accuracy. And what happened? We ended up letting him go. And he was the most sacked quarterback in the entire league last year because of the offensive line and the play calling too. So, yeah, I guess it just depends on the surrounding factors. Cliff Kingsbury's offense and the offensive line, not necessarily Jayden Daniels' play personally. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's some of that. I think kind of TJ kind of hits it here a little bit. If I was going to put that up there, they don't pay attention as much because, right? Ask me what Deshaun Watson is doing in Cleveland. I don't have a freaking clue. I have no idea.
He's not doing well, for the record.
Oh, he's not?
He has arm soreness.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah? Good.
Yeah.
It's because he can't go to the physical therapist anymore.
That's but I think it's also, look, until maybe 2 days ago, as you set this up, Nathan, that it's been nothing but praise for Jayden Daniels. If I go out there right now and I'm, who was that? Ian Hartitz? Or what was your guy there that put that
Aaron
out,
Schatz.
Nathan?
Aaron Schatz
or whatever,
Aaron
right?
Schatz.
If he goes out there and he puts out an article about Jayden Daniels is killing it in preseason, it's one of 300 different articles that have been put out about Jayden Daniels doing well in preseason. Nobody cares. They've all read it. But if he puts it out saying Jayden Daniels is going to lead the league in interceptions or something to that effect, now everyone's going to read it. To me, it's sort of it's a contrarian
playing the game, the algorithm. Yeah,
playing chess. Let me put this piece here and see what happens.
Exactly. That's what I think it is, because as TJ is saying there, that they don't really have the full attention of what's going on here in Washington. They just kind of hear everything. So why all of a sudden is a guy saying he's going to struggle and Washington is going to be, the worst team in the NFC? I saw somebody else do that today, that they're going to be the worst team in the NFC. They're doing that because there's too much praise going on and it's just going to get lost in the shuffle. That's my theory, but I don't know for sure.
So someone was dogging Mina Kimes earlier, saying that she's going to rival Florio as the number one Washington hater. And that's simply not true, by the way. Mina Kimes actually... Well, yeah, I was about to say she loves Washington. She even said there were question posed for her and Bobby Slowick was who is more likely to have more wins than losses, Washington or the Giants? And both of them picked Washington. Both of them think Washington has a better chance. They're not going to end up in the basement. That they might actually have a winning record because of Jayden Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
Slowick was talking about how he's an offense unto himself.
Sure.
Yeah.
And Jayden Daniels, and that there are some pieces in coaching here. As much as Kimes got a lot of grief, and deservedly so, over her take about Dan Quinn being one and done.
Yep.
But she's not hit that ever since that one comment, a one-off comment. She's not hit that. She's not going with that. So
I agree.
I think people are too hard on Mina Kimes. I think she's a great analyst. She is somebody who you can actually, she might not be able to watch all the tape, but before she tries to talk on a subject, you can tell she's tried to watch something. Some of these guys will do things that will just be like, I'm just going to look at the box score. Let the box score tell me what's going on. And that's where you get this. He's going to lead the league in interceptions. Because if you just kind of cursory looked at the Jets joint practice, you would have seen that Jayden Daniels threw 2 interceptions. One of them ended the practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's not until you go in further that you find out that the first one was a ball that bounced off the receiver's hands. And then the second one was where the wide receiver slipped.
Right.
So not all.
You got to look into it.
Yeah, you got to look into it. You got to watch a little bit of it. So I think that is something when it comes there.
I was trying to figure out kind of what we were talking about is that there are some people who are pushing back on the Jayden Daniels narrative, you know, that he is the guy, that he's going to be great. There's a chance for Rookie of the Year, all of this stuff. And they're all pushing back saying he threw how many passes in the preseason? 17 passes, whatever it was. And one of them was over 10 yards, the one to De'Ami Brown. How can you sit here and praise Jayden Daniels? And again, it just goes back to, it's not just what he's doing in a game, in a meaningless preseason game for a quarter and against mostly backups or whatever. It's what he's doing every day in practice. And we've seen it and we've heard it. We've heard it from coaches. We've heard it from beat reporters. We've heard it from national guys who come in and watch him for a day or two. And you just know that he is what he is. And that's not necessarily going to mean he's going to be great. But right now, he's doing everything that he's supposed to be doing, both physically and mentally, to be an excellent starting quarterback. And how people are just all of a sudden coming in and saying he's going to lead the league in interceptions and all this. I don't get it. It has confused me.
It's clickbait.
I guess it is. And that's kind of an easy way to just toss somebody aside and say you're just doing clickbait. But that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah. So Grimjaw, Mina apparently just yesterday said she's worried about Cliff's offense, that it looks vanilla and Jayden may be doomed. This is preseason, of course. It's vanilla. We're showing nothing. As we mentioned, Dan Quinn said that they're actually using the opposing team's offense.
Yeah.
And what is it? What is it about Jayden Daniels that you don't like? What has it been? What are we seeing? What are we hearing that is alarming, that has scared us, that has cautioned us, that has worried us? Has there been anything?
Nothing on Jayden Daniels.
Has there been any talk of any issues with his footwork?
No.
Anything with any of his mechanics?
Nope.
No.
How about his arm strength?
Nope.
How about his attitude?
Nope.
Work ethic?
Nope.
Accuracy?
Nope.
His composure in the pocket?
Nope.
His leadership?
Nada.
His athletic ability?
Nope.
The only thing that has been
Talk to him,
a
Stoner.
concern is we haven't seen him play in a game.
No.
In a real game. That's it.
That's all it is.
We haven't seen him play. We haven't seen him do it in a game yet. But everything else has been praised by everybody who has been around him. Footwork, mechanics, arm strength, attitude, work ethic, accuracy, composure, leadership, athletic ability. It's all been praised.
Yeah.
and all positive.
There are a
from the
few
top
things
rope.
actually that were in the chat right now. Yam, by the way, coming back from a birthday party, he
Yeah.
says.
Hey.
So happy birthday to Yam. Assuming that's you were at your birthday
Yes,
party.
it was Yam's.
Happy birthday to you. Coach Lombard coming in here with judgment as a red flag and field vision. Now, one of the concerns, and I'm not going to necessarily go as far as coach there, but one of the concerns we have heard is he hasn't really thrown over the middle. We haven't really seen that yet. And that was something pre-draft that was talked about as well, was he's great on the outside the numbers, but his in the middle stuff is something that he doesn't do often enough to really see him kind of shine.
You know what he did in practice against the Dolphins? During that 5
Through the middle.
touchdown in the red zone drill, threw over the middle.
Right
you know
over
what he
the
did in the preseason game to John Bates? Threw over the middle. So, yakety yak.
And JP Finley said today he threw over the middle.
Metaphor being too close of a friend to Ayuk. That's fair. I was even on him for that one.
But
Yeah,
the one that you brought up, that his judgment and field vision, you can't say that has been an issue in training camp.
Sure.
Thank you.
That's something that is going to be tested much more in the regular season, because training camp is training camp, preseason is preseason. Totally get that. But that's the sort of thing that I'm talking about. The only thing that we haven't seen is those sorts of things that take place during when the real bullets are flying during the game. And we haven't seen that yet, but we haven't heard that any of those things are an issue yet. So I don't understand why others are coming in with these takes.
Boredom. We need week 1 to get here. That's what it is.
I guess
bro.
so, man.
We're pretty close to week 1 being here. We're even closer to the final, or first rather, 53-man roster for our Washington Commanders of 2024. And we are going to be doing our predictions here in the cool down. Stick with us. Welcome to the cool down here on episode 187. We're going to be going over some 53-man predictions as cut day is quickly approaching. Now, normally we see the final preseason game, and then we'll see some within like the next 12 to 18 hours, kind of those first sets of cuts. There's only one cut day now, and has been that way now for a few years. Rather than before, it would go from 90 to like 75 to then 53. So it's on one cut day. You get to know whether or not you are going to make this team. Now, that being said, teams still have somewhat of a practice where they kind of ease through. And it's just like, yeah, these are the total not going to make the roster. Let them go now. And there's also the vets who tend to get released first.
Yeah.
That gives them an extra set of eyes, lets them get quicker to other teams, because they will be, first on that waiver wire, that free agency for themselves. So here in the 53-man predictions, we're not necessarily going to go down position by position, give you all 53. We're not doing that because we've got a help from our friends. Other content creators out in the Washington Commanders are sending us videos. We're going to compile it and we're going to record on Monday and post it on our 53-man predictions. And we're going to have some dialogue there as far as some of these things that are in there. But we do want to go over some of the ones that are strictly ref the district predictions.
Mm-hmm.
How many QBs are they keeping?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a surprise cut that we're looking at? Is there a surprise person? We're not really going to talk about the preseason anymore. The Patriots game doesn't matter, but there's one thing we didn't discuss this preseason yet, guys. Who's the district diamond? Our district diamond is the player who just plays their butt off in the preseason. We all fall in love with, and we think that this person's going to get a roster spot, but really they're practice squad at best. But we just absolutely love them.
Yeah, who is the district diamond this year?
I think Trev's right. He said it. Say it a little louder. Say it with your chest, Trev.
Tyler Owens.
People are all over Tyler Owens being fantastic. Does he make the safety group? Because this safety group is good.
Right.
It's not okay. It's not average. It's good. I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to this safety group.
Yeah, but the problem is he's going to make the team. So I mean, that's not the problem.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's
he can
I don't
still
think
make
you
the
can name
team
him
as
the
the district diamond.
Oh, you
we
can?
fall in love with him because he's just playing his butt off. No one expected him to, right? I mean, there might have been a person who like, I'm a big Tyler Owens fan. I thought he was going to do good. This is an undrafted free agent, for goodness sake.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Also, I think it could be. We talked about him earlier. Michael Wiley is one of those guys that everybody seems to love.
He could be running back 3.
I don't think he is, but that's cool. And then also Bryson Tremaine, right?
Yeah,
He's the guy who's been out there first almost every single practice. He's made plays in practice and in the preseason, so he could be that guy because he's not getting a roster spot. I can tell you that right now. And I can't think of really anybody else except maybe Driscoll. All of a sudden, Driscoll, QB2 ain't happening.
Yeah.
Ain't QB2.
I do think he's QB3. I don't think he gets to the practice squad.
He's lucky that Hartman is hurt, or he wouldn't even be QB3.
I do like Hartman. I think he was always practice squad bound. Now, if this injury lingers, I can see them stashing him on like IR and trying again next year. But yeah,
Trace McSorley.
Trace McSorley. He's going to be cut so quick.
Hometown kid.
Kid. But you can't go out there on your first play, fumble the snap. The second play, did he take a sack or did he throw a pick? Something I can't remember.
I don't know. He had a touchdown at the end of the game, and Mitchell Tinsley just dropped it.
I'm still kind of taken back by Nathan's statement saying that our safety room is good.
It is.
What
I agree.
Makes you,
I agree.
Why? I want to hear why. Outside
starting
of
safeties right now,
starting
Quan
safeties
Martin and Chin are legit.
Yeah, they're legit.
Defoe flies around the field. I'm not saying I'm glad he's a backup. Okay. Because I don't think that outside of his one season where he was fantastic, he's not shown that consistently, but he is a good backup. All right. Tyler Owens is a guy everybody loves. You may or may not have a Jeremy Reeves on this roster who is a fine safety and good special teams guy. Realistically, you're not getting past the first two unless injury. And I'd still like somewhat Percy Butler. I don't think he makes. I'm not even sure he makes the 53 though. I think cut a guy. I think that's the guy you cut. But I mean, Quan Martin and Jeremy Chin and Defoe are a good 1, 2, 3.
I agree.
I think Tyler does make it too for special teams and for safety. He was getting his hands on the ball, getting some picks in camp at the safety position, and he showcased his special teams during the preseason games. Jeremy Reeves has nothing but whiffs in the preseason action that he's seen. You don't hear about his performance in camp at all. The only thing you see Jeremy Reeves on a clip from camp is a handshake with Tress Way or a picture time with Tress Way's family, or way back then when Nathan brought this up, when Bobby Wagner, I think it was OTAs, doing an interview, and Reeves was yelling in the background, and Bobby Wagner said, "You play too much." He was like low-key serious on that. Oh, I like Dominic Hampton too. He's a hit stick. But yeah, Jeremy Reeves. I know he's a South Alabama guy. He was a favorite on this show for quite some years. But all good things must come to an end, and this story is a good cut a billion times, brought back a billion times, overcoming ACL injury, re-signed with the new regime. That's a very, very cool upbringing, uplifting story. But I don't translate to the field. And in the NFL, wins and losses are determined by what's on the field, not handshakes and pictures with your favorite friend on the team. No offense, Jeremy Reeves. I think he's gone. I think Tyler takes the spot on special teams. And that's cool because he was a special teams. He was a special teams ace. But like I'm saying, he's just been handshakes and picture takes. That's it. Personally.
I have to disagree. Jeremy Reeves makes this team. He's too valuable on special teams.
Bro, he had one all-pro year of special teams. He's not valuable.
This is a staff, though, by the way, that may or may not have gone after a different special teams ace.
A guy who Larry Izzo was familiar with and
Yeah.
couldn't come to an agreement.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
you didn't want him
All
that bad.
pro linebacker special teams player Nick
we
Below.
lowballed him.
And who's he play for now?
No.
Nobody. Let's get back to the guy who is on a team right now, who's not out of a job, because he is a fantastic, not a very good.
He's
a
had
fantastic
one all-pro year, bro. And
So
then he tore
what?
his ACL last year, and now he's coming back from that, and he hasn't performed. You saw the missed tackles.
You never, honest to goodness, Trev, even when he wasn't injured, even when it wasn't injury, you didn't want to see him out there as a safety.
Thank
I said
you.
He's a fine fifth safety.
I didn't say
he's a fifth safety, and that's not what Stoner's talking about, though. He might be the fifth safety, but he's the first special teams guy you got.
Correct. He is a stud special teamer. Not a good one. Not a very good one. Is a stud.
What year was that he got all pro? What year was that?
Like 2 years ago. Not last year, but the year before. It was
What about
2
before
seasons ago. We're not talking about 5 years ago.
There's a reason why that man has spent his whole entire career being cut and brought back and being cut and being brought back. There's a reason for that.
Yeah, I agree with that, Trev. I agree.
And this regime is about winning. Yeah, he's really nice, fan favorite, but
he's a special teams ace.
Those
guys are not necessarily that valuable on a team, but he is valuable not only because of that, but because of his leadership, because of his locker room presence. Those things are important.
They are.
I want to smack people around who don't take that into consideration.
I do. I said he's a fan favorite. He's a good locker room. He's a good locker room guy. Like he's great, but like, come on, man. We've got other leaders that can take his spot and the leadership role on his team this year.
Yeah, I don't think you do.
I think we do. On the defensive side of the ball, you got Bobby Wagner, you got Allen, you got Payne, you got Jeremy Chin, you got Frankie Louvu. Hold on. You don't need his leader, his 1/10% leadership to go along with everybody else. He gone, Stoner. He gone.
He's not gone.
It's a new era. It's a new era. Dan Quinn and Joe Witt and them, they want to win. They're not here to bring guys with great attitudes matter, but they're not. No, we're trying
great
to
stories
win.
Is that what I think you might be going for there? Because attitude is important for them. They do like that determination. But because you're a good story doesn't mean you're going to stick around on this roster.
Come on,
I'm not cutting. I'm not cutting.
His play is not that great. He was all pro 2 years ago. Cool, under Ron Rivera. Which, if you think about it, somebody had to be picked. Because look at the squad we had 2 years ago. Somebody had to be picked.
What do you mean somebody had to be picked? Nobody had to be picked. He was all pro. What does that mean, Trev? How many all pros are at the special teams position? How many? How many?
Probably on our team?
No, in the NFL. How many all pro special teams are
one just retired. His name was Matt Slater, who was a special teams.
I'm talking about in 2022.
Each year, how many people get named as a special teams?
Hold on. Let me
Trev, it's not something you got to look up. I'm showing you right here, Trev.
It's one.
Look right here, Trev.
One. They named one special teams all pro.
Not Pro Bowler.
Okay, that's great. But guess what? That was in the past. We live in now. And this season, he hasn't
the goalposts moving on you, Stunner? Like
he hasn't done anything.
Where are they going next? Where are we going next, Stunner?
Has Dan Quinn even said the words Jeremy Reeves since we re-signed him? One time. Exactly.
I don't think his roster spot's guaranteed, but I'm not cutting him.
How many times has he mentioned Tyler Biadasz? You want to cut him just because Dan Quinn hasn't mentioned him? Oh my God. Look, Jeremy Reeves is very good. He's an excellent. He is a stud. He is an all-pro.
He was.
He's not. He still is, Trev. Sorry.
No, he's not, dude. I'm sorry, but he's not.
He's making the
He's
roster.
a fan favorite. No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not. That man's gone, bro. He's gone, gone.
We got
gone.
2 against 1 right now. Let's move on to a different part of the roster.
Couldn't wait for this segment.
Yeah. We have, I say 3 QBs because of the injuries. Anybody going to disagree with me there?
Well, that's not fair.
That's fine.
On the starting 53, Stoner, that's coming up on Tuesday. I'm not saying they keep 53 by week 14, the bye week. I'm saying come Tuesday, they're keeping 3 QBs on this roster.
No, they're not.
Yes,
no?
they are.
Yeah, they are.
They're only keeping 2. They've got 5 in camp right now. They're going to cut 3 of them and bring back at least 1 on the practice squad, possibly even 2. They're keeping Daniels and Mariota on the 53. And they have no problem cutting Driscoll, Hartman,
will be available,
and Trace McSorley, and then bringing Driscoll and Hartman back, probably only Hartman, depending on his shoulder issue.
Yeah. I really think he might end up, depending on how this weekend goes. If Sam Hartman doesn't play this preseason game, I expect him to get the IR tag and just stashed away. All right. I think they like him
in this preseason game.
But who is it again?
Hartman.
Sam Hartman.
Oh, Hartman. Okay.
Yeah, if Hartman doesn't play this preseason game against the Patriots, then expect him to just get the IR, say that, yep, that shoulder, it's really bothering you. Why don't you sit a year and you can work with trainers and you already have our playbook. So like, just kind of work through it. We'll see you next year. But otherwise, yeah, good practice squad guy. Driscoll, you're right. He's not, if he gets cut, I'm not worried necessarily about him being picked up, but I just feel like unless Mariota's injury is not really bad, like we're talking, he should just be playing in the preseason because he's then yeah, I guess we can see it. Now, one of the other position groups that was highlighted by this coaching staff, we mentioned safeties being a deep room and where we sit with those. The other one is the tight end group. And Coach Lombard here is asking, do you guys like Cole Turner? Where do you guys stand on Cole Turner in this tight end group? You got to figure they're keeping, Zach Ertz. They just drafted they used a high round draft pick on Ben Sinnott.
Mm-hmm.
And John Bates has looked pretty darn good and seems to me locked in as tight end 2.
Sure.
So do they keep 4 tight ends, and is Cole Turner one of them?
I'm sorry, Cole Turner. You just said today after practice you don't want to play anywhere else. We appreciate that loyalty, but you gone, brother. You don't contribute. Zach Ertz is a veteran safety blanket, contributes. Ben Sinnott is a Swiss Army knife at tight end position. He can be used everywhere except for tight end. And John Bates is an excellent blocking tight end. Cole
Underrated
Turner,
receiver too, but
what does Cole Turner bring? We thought he was going to bring that vertical threat that he displayed in college. And we were hyped about in training camp. And then he got hemmed up with a calf injury and just hasn't really been able to come along since. He can't catch the ball, it seems like, when it matters.
Yeah.
I've seen him catching the ball in practice, but when it matters in the games or even in practice, he just can't hold on to it. That's half the reason why Jayden Daniels threw picks is because Cole Turner couldn't catch. I think he gone or practice squad. Maybe practice squad for injury, but he ain't making the initial 53. He's not going to be active on it.
I would be surprised. I think I would be surprised if they cut him. I think I would be surprised on that. But I think he deserves to be cut because of, like what you said, Trev, is that his play, he just lost the ability to catch the ball for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, now I think his size helps him in a lot of ways.
Sure.
And his route running helps him in a lot of ways because John Bates, you say, Nathan, that he's an underrated receiver. I think he's a fine receiver, but he's not a really good route runner.
So
like Cole Turner is.
Let me remind people, because your comment there might make people think differently. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to remind people that when I say somebody's overrated or underrated, a lot of people tend to hear overrated means they're bad and underrated means that they're good. I didn't say he's a good receiver. I said he's an
Mhm.
underrated receiver, which means
Yeah.
most people see him as just
They
a
bet.
blocker. In fact, one
Yeah.
person, Trev, in this pod says that he's a tight end, or he's a offensive tackle wearing a tight
Yes.
end number. Who could that
I
be?
do-
Stoner?
I
And
don't know.
most people agree with you in some sense that they don't see him as a receiver. They just see him as a blocking tight end. I'm telling you, he's an underrated receiver. He's better than most people give him credit for. And is he, Kittle? No. Is he, who's the kid out there who EP loves out in Kansas City that I can't remember his name for some reason? Kelsey. I don't know why I couldn't think of Kelsey's name.
Most
He's not
famous
Kelsey. He's not
football player on the planet.
even Captain Chaos, number 47 for
Right.
the Washington Redskins. He's not Cooley. Okay. I'm not saying that. I'm saying he's a better wide receiver than most people give him credit for.
Yeah, he had great, like one of his traits coming out of Boise State was he had good hands, great hands. He really did. And
he can catch the ball.
Steady.
They're
Eddie.
not running
All
plays
I'm asking,
for him. I can tell you that.
All I'm asking. Yeah, they're not going to run plays for him, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you can have him run a route and he can catch the ball.
Yeah.
And that's a lot better than Cole Turner has shown.
It seems to be that way, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll be surprised if Cole Turner gets cut, but you're right. He is definitely tight end 4. And if they're not keeping 4, then I mean, it's a numbers game. But I was kind of worried about earlier in the year, this whole the way the kickoff stuff is going and where they were going to get their kickoff specialist from or kick return specialist from. And that would have to come from somebody's position group, and somebody would get cut because of that. But I'm not thinking that anymore, because they are probably going to use like Zacchaeus or some of these other guys that are already on the roster as part of the 53. So that bodes well for Cole Turner. That's how I'm trying to compare it to the whole Cole Turner thing, is that him being in tight end 4, they may end up keeping 4 tight ends, depending on injuries, depending on all kinds of stuff.
In the initial 53?
Come on.
You're not even keeping 3 QBs, and we literally have 2 that aren't playing because of injury.
But you want to keep 4 tight ends?
Well, maybe for injury, they'll keep 4 on the initial 53.
No, I don't mean injuries on the tight ends. I mean injuries in other places that forces them to keep maybe an extra offensive lineman, because Brandon Coleman's not 100%. So we need an extra offensive lineman, and therefore, where are we going to get that from? We're going to have to take it from the tight end room. Something like that. That's what I mean. But I mean, we've expected a lot from Cole Turner for a long time, and he just has not produced. But let's not forget, he's a 5th rounder.
Yeah.
by a group of guys that couldn't figure out how to draft guys. Ron Rivera.
Also, this regime has no ties to him. He's a Ron Rivera leftover.
They're unafraid.
Yeah.
Now, I will say Cole Turner being a name that people are going to cut because it's a Ron Rivera thing, not surprising. Let's move to the wide receiver room, where people,
that's a tough one.
Greg Rosenthal has even said Jahan Dotson might be cut as a Ron Rivera thing. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. But Yam here asking, what do you all think about Luke McCaffrey? Stoner, that's your boy.
Yeah.
Yam saying, I keep seeing and hearing the term overdrafted, but he still looks like a project weapon at worst to me. Where we stand on Luke McCaffrey, and how many wide receivers are going to be on the initial 53?
I think Luke McCaffrey takes on the old De'Ami Brown role. Coming out, great college tape, great practice, but won't see the field that much in the games, like minimal, like 10 or below snaps. You know what I'm saying? 15 below snaps. I don't see him as a real true threat right now, but I'm not saying he's not a slouch or anything like that. Like, he's definitely a project thing at worst, which I agree with that comment. So he makes the 53 because he was pick 100 and he can play the position.
Yeah.
He's just not a wow player yet. He doesn't have pizzazz yet. He doesn't bring, like, when you say Luke McCaffrey, what does he bring to the team? You really can't say anything yet besides dedication to the position he's playing in, because he was a former quarterback, so he's still learning the position after playing it for like 1 or 2 years at Rice, of all places. No offense to Rice, probably a great school, but college football wise. No, so that's where I see him. He makes the 53, just not utilized as much. But he has to earn the playing time.
Yeah, I think we're getting a little over our skis on Luke McCaffrey in terms of saying all of a sudden that he sucks.
Right.
That he's in danger of not even making the team or whatever. Luke McCaffrey's going to play, and he's going to play often. I agree that in terms of when we're trying to rank these receivers, and Dan Quinn says they don't do it like we do in fantasy football, which is you have a number 1 and number 2 and like that. He doesn't do it like that. I mean, obviously, other than Terry is your stud receiver. Then after that, it's just we're going to put guys in the position to make plays, whoever that may be, and whatever play that may be. So, but when we're ranking guys who are going to get the number of touches, or let's just say targets this year, I think Luke McCaffrey is going to be right up there in the top 4. He's going to be right there. He's going to be. It's going to be Terry. It's going to be Jahan. Let's stop with the Jahan craziness too. He's going to be number 2 in terms of targets. It's going to be Zacchaeus, and it's going to be McCaffrey and De'Ami Brown are going to be right there for that next group.
Yeah.
I
have him as wide receiver 5 on the initial 53. But I agree with you, Stoner, on the wide receiver 2. The difference in this offense, in my opinion, between wide receiver 2 and 3 is going to be a handful of catches and a handful of yards. It's not going to be that big. You're going to see Jahan Dotson and Zacchaeus just kind of be Oz and Jahan are going to be pretty neck and neck in targets. They might not even be the second most targeted. Zach Ertz might be the second most targeted. But out of the wide receivers, you have Terry McLaurin and a bunch of other guys. I don't know. It's really hard with De'Ami Brown, who I think is wide receiver 4. Where is he going to be this year? Is he going to be this guy who we've seen this preseason and had flashed maybe a couple times? Or is he going to return to what we've seen over the last few seasons where he's just a dud? Because if it's that De'Ami, then Luke McCaffrey is going to be that wide receiver 4 by end of year. But if he finally gets it, if this is the offense that he needed to show off his skill set, De'Ami Brown's skill set, then I can see Luke McCaffrey being a sometimes player, but not great. And I have another theory on that, but I'm going to give you guys room to talk here.
I see Luke McCaffrey coming in on certain packages. He's not going to be lining up out there as often as De'Ami, Jahan, and Terry. They'll use him for certain packages and certain downs and certain positions, like depending on field position as well, I do believe. But he's definitely not a slouch. He's definitely making the 53 for sure.
Can I run by a crazy theory by you guys on why Luke McCaffrey is maybe not showing out? And this is going to get me in trouble a little bit. All right.
Good.
Some people might not be like Todd was earlier here, who became a subscriber. I understand.
Thank you, Todd.
I'm just 1/3 of this group. Thank you, Todd, for being a subscriber. Follow his lead. Be a fan, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. Share it with the other people you like to talk with, because they can join the conversation live here every Wednesday as well. But Todd, don't leave because of what I'm about to say.
It's going to be juicy.
I wrote it down. I predicted what you're going to
say. Okay. Maybe Luke McCaffrey is not shining this early because the place that Luke McCaffrey is going to be successful and where he plays the best, right? Most people list him as a slot. Where is he normally supposed to be catching the ball? Is in the middle of the field. Are Jayden Daniels, supposed or not supposed, struggles in the middle of the field? The lack of throwing to the middle field, one of the reasons why Luke McCaffrey maybe not shining as big of a star as Stoner and some other slot. Is that the case? Is it Jayden Daniels' fault that Luke McCaffrey isn't already wide receiver 3? Stoner is putting away the pad, so he did not guess it. I'm interested, Stoner, what you had in the paper, but first answer the question.
Well, I mean, so what you're saying is he's not shining because McCaffrey does well over the middle and Jayden doesn't do well over the middle, essentially. And
Supposedly,
therefore, that's
he
why
doesn't do well over the middle. We just haven't seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't sort of, because we're not there every day, and I haven't heard since preseason, not since preseason, since training camp started, I haven't heard this narrative that Jayden can't or is not good at throwing over the middle. I haven't heard that. We heard it as something that was a problem at LSU, but I haven't heard that. So
Well,
I don't.
one of the things at LSU that was pointed out, and this is the outside the numbers thing, is that his two stud wide receivers, who are round one wide receivers, were outside guys, and
Sure.
he didn't throw to the middle very often. He didn't have to because
didn't need to. Yeah.
you had two, wide receivers being drafted in the first round. We don't have that here, though.
Yeah,
that's a good theory, quite possible, but I don't know. I'm a stoner. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair theory. We'll just have to see if that plays out that way.
We have seen Luke catch several good passes.
Oh yeah.
He's shifty. He's every list of white guy athlete traits that you want to throw at him. And I think I do think that he has potential to continue growing and be successful. I loved the 3-cone drill and all the stats on that. Like, I think that he can be really good. He's 6'2", which is something this roster doesn't have. I don't think Bryant makes the roster at 6'4", but it's at least like we at least have somebody above 6'1", which is good. So
that catch in the preseason game, was
the
that
answer
over the
is
middle?
no, Trev. What's that?
Okay. The catch he had in the preseason game, was that over the middle and he took it for a few extra yards?
I want to say it was, yeah.
But it was not
between the numbers. It wasn't like straight middle of the field,
Jayden
but it was
Daniels,
between the numbers.
No, but still.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. That's a good theory, though, Nathan.
So that's my theory. What was Stoner thinking I was going to say?
Yeah, I want to know that too.
Was mine not as bold as you were thinking, Stoner? Blaming Jayden Daniels?
I thought you were going to say that maybe they're doing like they did with Terry
McLaurin
in his
that's
rookie
a fair
season,
hiding
which was they were hiding him because they knew what they had and they wanted to kind of keep it quiet. But that's what I wrote. That's what I wrote down. But
okay,
you really haven't heard that in preseason that he's just like, oh my God, we got something big here.
Yeah,
you haven't heard that from the reporters.
The punt returner is probably more than likely going to be a wide receiver.
Yeah.
So, who is going to play that role? That's going to be a wide receiver on the 53, but mainly because of the punt return. Jamison Crowder.
So that's rough because after Luke like,
McCaffrey?
Are you keeping 6 or 7? If you keep 7, that's where that extra guy comes. And I mean, you've got guys like JG here. Tremaine is the biggest question among the wide receivers. I don't think they keep him, but that's another big-bodied wide receiver that is probably practice squad bound for another year because he was on the practice squad last year. But it's just,
Tinsley is PS squad bound.
Yeah, he's not going to make the roster.
No,
I mean, it just depends on if they go to 7.
If
they go to 7, I have to say, I think Kaz Allen has an outside shot if they go to 7.
I don't think so. Did you see him get? No, bro. He doesn't know how to do a fair catch call and gets pummeled.
Yeah.
And then last year we tried that and he couldn't hold on to the ball in preseason.
Yeah. I don't know. They like him.
Yeah. They like I think Oz, I think metaphor is right on the. I think Oz probably just takes return duties. I think maybe you just keep 6 wide receivers.
Yeah.
And then who's the 6th?
Well, the 6th is Crowder.
You just keep Jameson Crowder.
You got Terry, Diami, Luke, Oz,
Jahan,
and
then Crowder.
So you keep 6.
Yeah, I don't think they're keeping 7.
Because who would be the 7th if you did keep 7? I don't think.
Well, then it comes down to Bryant, Tremaine,
Allen, Tinsley,
Pringle. Let's not.
I keep forgetting about
Pringle. I told you guys only one of Pringle, Bryant, or Crowder would make the roster.
I'd pick Crowder. I'll pick Crowder.
I think
he's the best
those
punt
choices.
returner we
It's
have.
Crowder.
Yeah, I don't think all 3 of them. I think only one of them make the roster. So it'd be from that group, and I agree. Crowder's probably the best there. Brent asking us, do we think Mathis makes this? We've talked a lot about the defensive starters haven't really played. Mathis has shown up a little bit this offseason, maybe not living up to his second round pick. And more people are excited about Johnny Newton getting back from his injury than they are about Mathis. But I will say this, people really cooled on Ridgeway being the answer at defensive tackle. So Mathis, is he a guy who makes it?
Yeah, he makes school.
I think it's between him and Ridgeway. I think him and Ridgeway are fighting for that second D tackle spot to go beside Johnny Newton, because you got J.A. and Payne starting, of course. And then Johnny Newton's going to probably relieve them. And then you got Ridgeway or Mathis to be on the other side of them. And I think they're in a heated battle right now between those two. So does Mathis make it?
Sorry, y'all. Mathis is making the team. As much as I didn't like that pick, he's making the team.
Yeah, Mike thinking Ridgeway, not Mathis. Yeah. Tommy pointing out that Mathis was the one who started. Ridgeway didn't. Grimjaw, Ridgeway not doing well. I'm not saying he's not doing well. I'm saying that he's dropped off this, like all people would talk about, fans would talk about, was John Ridgeway. And we're big Ridgeway guys here as well.
He body slammed somebody.
Yeah. He's got that. He plays angry, which is what you want, but this
fundamentally angry.
But let's not forget, this is not a 4-3 or a 3-4 team, right? They are whoever they're playing and how they're going to decide to attack that particular offense. So I don't think you're going to say we're taking 4 defensive tackles and 6 defensive ends, right?
So cut Ridgeway from that, really?
He was drafted by Dallas in the 5th round and then cut.
I got bad news for y'all. Quinn wasn't the head coach, so he didn't cut him.
Fair. He was the defensive coordinator. I think he might have had an opinion on that.
I definitely did. But listen, did he cut him, or they just put him on the practice squad?
Well, to get put on the practice squad, you might have said this earlier, Stoner. Yeah, you gotta get cut.
Right. All right. So, but here's the thing. So I don't think we're gonna be able to say they're gonna take X amount of defensive tackles. I think you're gonna say they're gonna take 10 defensive linemen.
Yeah.
And when you start doing that, then you start looking at maybe that's 5 defensive tackles, 5 defensive ends.
Yeah.
Right? Because a defensive end, who are you going to keep there? You're going to keep, of course, Armstrong, Fowler, who hasn't been practicing, so there could be an injury there. Farrell, who hasn't been practicing, could be an injury there. KJ Henry, and maybe, does Jamin Davis fit into that defensive end position? Or with linebackers?
Keep him listed as the linebacker.
Yeah, give me him over Andre Jones.
So they could go, instead of only 4 defensive tackles, they could go 5. And they could keep Ridgeway and Mathis.
Yeah, metaphor talking 5 defensive tackles and 5 defensive ends. Locked on Law talking about how some of the defensive ends can shift inside, just like some of the defensive tackles can shift outside.
Absolutely, because they may have a lineup where they've got 5 DTs, or not DTs, but defensive linemen on a particular play, and 3 of them are tackles. So it's gonna be fun to see what this 53 roster is going to look like for day one.
Surprising.
And injuries are going to play a role. Like we said, Fowler hasn't been practicing. Mathis,
he's not
Mathis. Newton hasn't been practicing. Farrell hasn't been practicing. Right? Mariota is a little banged up. Just kind of all over. You have these little injuries. Coleman hasn't been practicing very much. Been doing individual stuff. So it's going to be it's going to be interesting to see who ends up on that 53 come Tuesday.
I can't wait.
Because you're going to see some names and you're going to be like, whoa, if it's a Reeves, if it's who's the kicker, whatever his name is, Patterson. Is it going to be Chris Rodriguez, Cole Turner, Ricky Stromberg, right? Guys like that. You're going to be like, whoa, these guys were just high draft picks just a year or 2 ago.
Yeah.
Undeservedly so, though.
Well, under a different regime and everything. I just looked at the time. I realize we're pushing 2 hours. Give me one more, gents, because I promised Big E earlier we were going to get to his. Who's your all favorite under the radar guy?
Jeremy McNichols.
I like him a lot. He
I
might
like
make
Jeremy
squad.
McNichols. Seasoned vet, has a real strong chance of being RB3. Good return guy. They're using there a few times in practice. So that's just his name and name because we're short on time.
Yeah. Quick one on this one here.
Under the radar guy that nobody's talking about. And if you are talking about him, you're not talking good about him, but I like him. Allegretti at left guard. I like him. I think he's going to be solid, and we're not going to be too concerned. Not as concerned as we've been the last couple of years.
Oh, well, look who we're comparing it to here.
Hey, he's under the radar, though, is he not?
Yeah, that's fair. I'm going to go with Castro Fields as a guy that I think
on
this roster.
Penn State guy.
I do think that this is somebody who has kind of like been on the bubble quite a bit, but I think Castro Fields might be somebody who can linger around this one.
Too.
Dominique, I can't say the name, but that's the undrafted free agent that everybody loves. And that might be someone there. We got Wiley, Tyler Owens. I don't think Big Simple. Appreciate you jumping in here. I don't think Tyler Owens is under the radar. I think that's like the number one guy people are talking about. Sanistro, people have been loving Sanistro as well. This will be
the best corner we have.
This will be interesting. So we are, as Tommy mentions, 2 weeks away from the first game. Wow. Here on Ref the District, we promise you we're going to be bringing you great content throughout the season. So you need to make sure that you've subscribed to the channel. If you're listening to us on a podcast, make sure you set up those auto downloads and then listen to us later. Leave a rating and review while you do it. If you're here live at 7:30 Eastern, you get to join the conversation. We appreciate everybody jumping in. Given this, we're going to be bringing more content as the season progresses. We have our game day play-by-play and commentaries, so you get to watch the game with your friends. It's a fantastic time. Be sure to join us out for that. We've got the initial reaction that comes out right after the game. And then we also have our day after reckoning that'll be coming out on Monday. Those are the things we're going to do with our Wednesday show. Commanders updates as we have good news or as we have news to present. And one additional thing, I'm going to put it out into the universe right now, is Monday Mailbag is going to be a new segment we're going to do. I'm going to make a community post here on YouTube where you can ask questions, and then I'm going to choose a couple of those questions. I'm going to create shorts. Those we don't get to, we either are going to answer on our Wednesday show, or we can always make a separate video for that content. So that's going to be starting next week. Be on the lookout for that graphic on our community page. I'm Nathan Perry. That's the Stoner. That's Trev, who has his hand.
Oh my God. No, I was going to say Stoner near you.
Oh, okay. They're coordinating here at the end. We're Ref the District on the Believe Network, brought to you by Bet Online and Don't Sleep Energy. And until next time,
All Pro Revo.
Be a fan.